Sometimes life presents us with incredible challenges. We think we know the people we love, but one momentary choice can change everything. He came to the corporate party, full of hope and expectation to spend the evening with his wife. But what he discovered was far from what he expected. He decided to drop in on her at work, but what he saw left him shocked. His wife had been cheating, and her secret meetings at the corporate party had gone unnoticed. Until now. He was trapped by his own emotions. Should he break the family ties and deal with the truth, or pretend he didn't see anything? What to do in such a situation? This is a story about choices. About choosing between love and betrayal, between trust and disappointment. And he has to decide what to do. And now, here we go. The wife and her two colleagues are brought in by their new young employee. When asked why all three to us, he babbled his tongue and explained that he was new, and the address could only get one, apparently from my wife. As I do not tolerate office sit-ins, but what can I do? My wife's boss has an anniversary. I know my wife's friends. I had to drag her to her bed right from the hallway. None of them were on their feet. They were talking nonsense which only they understood, and they were laughing all the time. They were constantly laughing about who was trying to hit on whom, who was dancing with whom, what a fool the saleswoman was, that she had quailed and doused the teddy bear from the transport, and so on and so forth. My wife, I knew, even in good spirits, she always fought back greedy dreamers attempting to encroach on her body. I scattered the mermaids on the beds, set the girls on the couch in the hall. For obvious reasons, did not undress them. I took my wife to the bedroom, to our bed. While I was putting the girls to bed, ran to get them some water, for I knew that in 3 hours the great drought would begin. My wife passed out. I decided to undress her and put her to bed properly. That's when it happened. My wife started calling me Kirill, barely babbling something like "that's enough for today," and they would still have time to continue that there was no need to undress her anymore, because someone might come in again. There was nothing else under my wife's dress but fishnet stockings. I left her alone, and I found all the trappings of her lingerie in her purse, which was left with the other two in the hallway. I didn't take off her dress or take her underwear out of her purse, leaving everything as it was. All night I sat in the kitchen, hearing the occasional girl wake up and drink water or run to the bathroom. By about 10 a.m., all three were more or less awake. I uncorked a bottle of Chabat. The girls had to be rescued. It took them another 3 hours to shower and clean up. One of them was on the phone making excuses to her husband for not coming home last night. The wife came out in her robe and immediately complained to me that I hadn't undressed her, and she was looking forward to it. My wife's purse had moved from the hallway to the bedroom overnight. 2 hours later, I called a cab and the girls left. My wife was lying on the couch in the living room, with a glass in her hand, watching TV. I sat silently at her feet. I didn't try to be subtle or ask leading questions. I asked her straight out that she had something yesterday. She gave me a murderous look, saying, "Why do you say that?" I said that if she had time to get dressed, that didn't mean that I hadn't noticed she wasn't wearing underwear, and how it came to be in her purse. And who the fuck is Cyril? At first, my wife tried to put it down to the fact that she'd had a little too much to drink yesterday and couldn't remember anything. Then to the fact that I imagined everything and that she was dressed. Then I said that I would go to her workplace and I would not hide, asking who this Kirill was and what he was doing with my wife in one of the empty offices on the anniversary of the wife of her boss. It turned out that Kirill is the chief's second partner and friend. He is very rarely in the office because he runs another firm in which her boss and he are co-founders. My wife told me that Roman had spun out 2 months ago, and she already wanted to break the relationship herself, that she loved me too said, and didn't need anyone else, that she had made a terrible mistake, and asked me to forgive her for that mistake, that it would never happen again, and she was even ready to quit this job, that she was asking for another chance, and to prove her love. I agreed, said that if I didn't change my feelings for her within a year, we'd part ways. 7 months passed like water. There was a feeling that in order to make amends, my wife did everything just to please me, but there was no sincerity from these actions. It seemed to me that in sex she began to play or perform a role that had been prepared for her. There were nuances in the caressing that were not there before. I knew it was taken from there and from those caresses with that other man. Yes, I know she wanted what was best, or thought it would be best, but I don't want other people's relationships and caresses. I'm a husband. I wanted ours, our caresses, our sex, our relationship. I talked to her many times about it, but she assured me it wasn't, but I felt she wanted to please. But it was not at all an open attitude that I wanted to give myself to. I noticed that my wife wasn't really my wife anymore. And the further I go, the more and more I am convinced of this, even though I try to think otherwise. Dear listeners, what do you think of this story? Well, I certainly know. Yes, I know. It sucks. It's not life. It's horror. But first of all, what I would like to say and notice, I've changed something in the story. So first of all, if you remember, it said it was the birthday, or rather the anniversary of the chief's wife. Okay. Then when I read the story and wrote it down, it said it was the chief's birthday. Of course, in the process of writing it down, I had to change it so it didn't cut it. You know, it was literally said 2 minutes ago that it was his wife's birthday. But come on, in view of that we can conclude that the story is kind of made up, or something. First of all, it is written, well, far from professionally. Yes, we often have stories on the channel from real people, not writers, not authors. But it doesn't even look like anything worthwhile. But we're not some literary critics here. Really, we're here to sort out the story. What can I say? Well, typical reindeer. I'm sure you're going to flood this entire video with comments like that. But okay. I understand what I was going for when I chose this particular story. And now on to the second story. Life is full of surprises. Sometimes one snapshot can shatter everything we thought was sacred. He accidentally stumbled across a photo that revealed his girlfriend's secret. In this picture, she was with another man, their embrace betraying a secret betrayal. A moment of decision. He realized that trust had been broken and love tainted. Quick decisions would now be his salvation. This is a story about the power of making decisions in life's most difficult moments. He decided to break up quickly to free himself from the pain and begin a new chapter of his destiny. I came back from the army, and the girl I loved didn't wait and went below the radar. Worried, of course, but to break my life for a woman, but that's not the point. I took care of myself, found a job, and began to settle in and get on with my life. Then I ran into my ex-girlfriend by chance. We met in a store. She laughed, joked, bragged, and boasted about what she had become. I kept my mouth shut and let it pass me by. It had long since worn off and burned out, to be honest. Then 2 days later she came to me. The doorbell rang at 12 o'clock in the morning. I looked through the peephole, opened the door, and there she was. She was crying, stuttering with tears and begging for forgiveness, begging me not to leave her and to give her another chance. She said that she was sorry for everything, and that she regretted that she had ruined her own life, that she still loved me, she said too. In addition, during our separation, it turned out that she was addicted to drugs. I can't tell you any more details, it hurts. We lived like in heaven for a year, and then we had a fight, and she snapped. I found her 4 days later in the company of some junkie from the Golden Youth. I took her to the hospital, then resuscitation, then death. Brain dead. I buried her alone. All her relatives had given up on her long ago, crossed her out and forgotten her. For the first time after she was gone, I did not really live myself. I worked during the day, then worked out to the point of exhaustion, and then went to bed. Sometimes I went out with friends and got stupidly drunk. After 5 years, it seemed that I had found my happiness, but the key word was steamed. She is a single mother with a small child, an autistic daughter. She doesn't talk at all. and the word is not at all. The baby is golden. It's true. In the beginning, we communicated, started getting closer, and then we moved in together, started living together. Believe it or not, but the relationship was unreal. Everything was perfect. She's affectionate and gentle and caring, but she's just gold. Right. And I loved her daughter like she was my own. I was very fond of her. I was happy, and it didn't end well. Just one morning, a girl called me by the car in front of my house. Then a short conversation and a stack of pictures of my woman's relationship. He was 16 years older than her and far from poor. There were no scandals. I came home in the evening, put the pictures in front of her, and after packing my things, I just went nowhere in the night. The only thing she said was, "If you can, I'm sorry." I worried terribly, worried wildly. I loved my daughter as my own. I loved her. At first it was just like the last time. I lived like a zombie. Work, training, alcohol, friends. It was like life was over. Every day was like the day before, Groundhog Day. The whole life is like a black and white movie. There are no smells, no colors, no colors. And there's no desire or meaning to it all, either, as you can see. And in my head, the same question. Why? In the meantime, my career has taken off. Hard work, in which I drowned my emotions, has borne fruit. I was noticed and offered a very serious position. And since work was all I had, I accepted. And so, everything seemed great. I had money. I always wanted to get out of poverty, but still no life. One weekend, I got in my car and drove to my ex's cemetery. Put an end to my personal life for a long time. Put all thoughts on the subject out of my head and heart. Believed that relationships and love were nothing more than a beautiful fairy tale for movies, for books, and for some cheap melodrama series. And the next thing you know, it's a new turn. And it's the same story again. But this time in a new wrapper. We met a mutual acquaintance. We got acquainted, liked each other, and started hanging out. Feelings were awakened. The relationship began to spiral. And so, we started to live together. Everything was going very well. We made plans and built our lives. And then that unfortunate New Year's Eve happened. She had had too much alcohol with her friend and was talking to her in the kitchen while they were smoking. And I heard it, because the acoustics in the apartment are good. In general, I never eavesdropped or rummaged through phones, computers, that kind of thing. All in all, the picture is not a fun one. She loves her ex. They communicate online, but she can't forgive him. He betrayed her for someone else. And I'm just good, wonderful, golden, and reliable. Again, no scandal and no swearing. After a couple of days, we talked and broke up honestly. She didn't want to break up, of course, tried to justify herself, and I didn't want to listen to this anymore. Anyway, that's my whole life story. I'm 32 years old, life is settled, but no personal life. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know. I've long since given up on love and family. And in people slowly losing faith, to be honest. I've seen a lot of things in my life. Or maybe I'm just not lucky, or maybe it just doesn't happen at all in this life. And thank you. Thank you very much. Talked. Well, friends, a little analysis of the situation. Let's take a close look at the author. This is an ordinary guy. Obviously from a simple, perhaps working environment. Nevertheless, you can see his idealism. He is an idealist. An ordinary one who falls for outwardly spectacular women. His first so-called love, an alcoholic and drug addict from society. From the milieu of the golden youth, most likely. To clarify, once met with such, you can see the antagonistic relationship, conditioned by the environment and nothing else. That's why she did not wait, most likely. The second one is also a rather interesting case. Apparently, also with a conspicuous appearance and enjoying the attention of other men. If she was hit on by such a successful man, how much older by 16 years, right? older than her. There must have been something about her. If even our author, given the child, not in the best of health, decided to take to himself and had feelings for her, well, he also spoke quite warmly of her when he described her. But what is most interesting, most likely, it has long been looking for someone like our author. By the way, she found one. Last and spectacular, and again, not from the work environment and not from the plankton of the office. They got acquainted already when he himself had risen in his career and financially. Correspondingly, we can assume that the acquaintances were of the same level. And this woman was clearly in an unfinished relationship, which was certainly evident in her behavior. For example, I can't imagine a relationship and a situation in which, being with a person for a long period of time, one couldn't see that she was anchored somewhere in there by the past, something clinging to her, some relationship with an ex, not a relationship, and so on. The author, on the other hand, is stubbornly unwilling to understand that when a relationship develops rapidly, something about the past of that opposite party is completely wrong. This is, of course, an assumption that you can argue with. I agree. It's not always true. It is. There are facts in history, not specifically in the history of other people. There are situations where people have met and a precipitous relationship has developed for reasons other than that someone has some skeletons in the closet there. Especially if we're talking about people who are young, able-bodied, promising, energetic, they may have it inherent. And what can you say about the author and give him some advice? Perhaps we should be more attentive and finally understand that what is important in a woman is her inner content, and only after that her appearance. If you don't agree with me, write in the comments, we'll discuss, no problem. How do you feel about the author's story in general? I've already told you my vision. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. It helps the channel grow. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, you can do so directly below this clip. And I'm not saying goodbye, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video.